Hey, it's Serenity here, and welcome back to Healing with Serenity. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. And if you've been walking this journey with me, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for showing up again. And I pray that you felt seen and safe here because this space was made for healing. In Jesus' name. And last week, we talked about letting go of the labels and lies. Those names the world gave us that were never ours to carry anyways. So we dug deep into identifying into the power of words and into the truth of who God says we are. And now that we've started letting go of the old, we've got to learn how to protect the new. And that's why this week we're talking about setting holy boundaries. Boundaries, that word. I used to think boundaries were selfish. I thought they were mean or cold. But now I believe boundaries rooted in God's wisdom, not fear, not guilt, but discernment. They're sacred. Healing is sacred. So boundaries, I believe that it protects our healing. They preserve our peace, and most importantly, I promise you, they'll help others to respect you. And if anyone who has problem with the healthy boundaries you setting while you healing, that person is probably wasn't meant to be in your inner space anyways. I'm going to say that again. For me and for you, okay? I'm going to say that for both of us. Not everyone deserves front row access to your healing. I'll be honest, I had problem with other people's boundaries. Even though I was always to myself, when someone draw a line, I felt attacked. But I believe it's because I didn't understand what boundary really were. Now that I understood, I know that boundaries aren't rejections. They're actually protection. When you're healing, everything is tender. Everything is raw. It's like you're naked. And you can't just let anyone or anything disrupt what God is building within you. Proverbs 4 verse 23 says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. God isn't asking us to be cold. He's asking us to be careful. He's asking us to just be diligent. You can still love people and have limits. You can still serve and protect your energy. You can still say no and be full of grace and love. Because when it's done God's way, boundaries aren't about pushing people's out. They're more about keeping your soul aligned and your peace be within. Now, if you're looking for a model, look no further than Jesus. Jesus loved people deeply. We all know that. But even he didn't say yes to everything. He healed multitude, but withdrew to pray. He fed thousands, but often disappeared into silence. He helped, but he did not overextend. Luke 5 verse 16, it says, but Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed. I believe that when we give so much, we also have to know when to replenish ourselves to give even more. So I believe boundaries are key. That tells me even love needs rest. Even purpose needs a pause. Even Jesus, the Son of God, modeled boundaries. So who told us that saying yes to everyone makes us more Christ-like? Because sometimes the most Christ-like thing you can do is rest. is rest, is retreat, is regroup, so you can give again in a full force. I used to be a yes girl. Some of the people that knows me now would say, what? But yes, I used to be a yes girl. I used to say yes to everything. Yes to the phone calls I didn't have the energy for. Yes to the plans I didn't want to attend. Yes to the people who used to drain me, use me, or take advantage of me. Especially growing in a Haitian household, saying no felt like a sin. When you say no, you're suddenly like the worst child to be alive. You get scolded, punished, made to feel like no was a dishonor. But here's what I've learned, and I want to share, is that the more I kept saying yes to others, the more I was saying no to myself, to my peace, and most importantly, to God. You're like, what? You're being nice. Yes, to God. Because when you're taking all the time to say yes to other people, taking advantage of you, now you have no time for God. He gets the drain part of you. I remembered one night crying in my room because I was just exhausted. I wasn't crying, like whining, I would say. And I'm like, God, why? Why can't I say no sometime? And I realized that I just been giving people access to places God never told me to open to others. You know, you giving people access where God just wanted to be sacred at time, where you give it to God. And that was it for me when I realized that. When I realized that my healing was sacred and I had been letting people walk all over it like it was a common ground, yeah, that was it. It's like preparing a garden. You know, you plant the seed, water them, and care for them. You don't just let anyone stomp through it. And you're that garden. You need to protect it so it can grow. You need to grow. In order for you to grow, you need to protect your garden so people don't walk all over your hard work. I'm saying this to myself too, because sometimes I tend to forget. Sometimes you may wonder, like, what does healthy boundary sounds like? And how can I truly say it to the people that I love for them to understand? Um, I would say it sounds like this. I can't be available right now, but I love you though. I hope you understand. Or I need time to rest today. I had a very long day and I hope you understand. Or that conversation doesn't feel healthy for me right now. Or that conversation doesn't feel healthy for me anymore and I would like to withdraw from it. You know, because in Matthew 5:37, it says, let your yes be your yes and your no be your no. That means I don't owe anyone a 5-paragraph essay. I don't have to apologize for protecting my peace. I don't have to over explain myself for my peace of mind. I can be clear, loving, and firm. That's biblical. Let my yes be my yes and no my no. No, I can't make it today, but I hope you understand. See that? Now that's easier said than done because let's talk about guilt. Because it will come up, especially if you're a people pleaser like me. You will feel so bad for putting in that boundary. You'll wonder if you're selfish. You'll think people will stop loving you, will stop caring, or look at you differently. But what I've learned along the way is that guilt is not the same as conviction. You know, sometimes guilt is it's just grief. It's like you grieving that old version of you who overgave, who overdid, who overextended. And we just have to let that old version you go. We got to let her go. Because we work so hard to become the person that we're trying to become or coming today. And we can't just have the fear to let that person, that old version, go. Because you deserve it. You worked too hard to get here. You prayed for too long for this peace. Galatians 1 verse 10, it says, am I now trying to win the approval of human beings or of God? If you know your no is in alignment with God, that should be enough. Because we have to be balanced. We have to check ourselves at time. Because if you're constantly saying no to your close friend, no to your families, no to your peers, then yeah, you may want to check that. It might means that they're not your people anymore, or you're in a season that needs communication. So just communicate with them that, hey, I'm in a season where I just have to be to myself more now. Because boundaries doesn't necessarily mean isolation. They mean intentional connection with yourself. To my fellow recovering people pleasers, I just want you to know that God never asks you to lose yourself in the name of love. You can be kind without being a doormat. I can be kind without being a doormat. I can serve without self-sacrificing my soul. I can follow Jesus and still choose me in moments that protects my calling. Now, if you were called to be a doormat, like to constantly serve others, I know God will give you the strength to do it, and that's a different story. But you don't have to be a doormat to please God and others. Because how can you be the salt and light when you already burnt out? Think about it. How can you give so much love when you don't have much anymore to give out? You know I love homework, so like always, this week I want you to reflect. Where have you been overextending yourself? What boundaries do you need to create to stay in peace with God? What boundaries do I need to create to stay in peace with my God? And I always want you to write it down. Have your notebook with you. Talk to God about it, because we're healing in Jesus' name. He's our anchor. Ask the Lord, what do I need to protect in this season of healing? Because you, my love, are not selfish. In the contrary, you are wise. You are growing. You are healing. And we always heal here one step at a time. Always, always take it one step at a time. Hey, I'll see you next week on Healing with Serenity. Bye. Healing with Serenity.